This video is a getting started introduction to the MIDI Expression hardware and the control application. While the hardware itself is completely plug and play, if you want to change the settings for your pedals or use some of the advanced features of the device, then you'll need to use the control application. To get you familiar with the hardware, the default settings, and the changes that you can make, we'll go over connecting 4 different pedals that the interface supports. We'll start with an expression pedal. The inputs on the hardware are polarity reversing, so the device will work fine with both Roland and Yamaha style wiring standards. The default setting for an expression pedal is to send out control change 7, which typically controls volume in most audio applications. But you can easily change that by either clicking on an arrow or dragging the control up or down. You'll notice that when I plug the pedal into input 2, the default settings have returned. That's because each input on the MIDI Expression has its own set of presets. You can also change the type of message that the pedal sends. There's control change, pitch bend, channel pressure, and even some modes for sending out velocity sensitive notes. The expression curve lets you adjust the minimum or maximum values that the pedal sends out, as well as make fine adjustments to the response curve. You can disable the expression curve just by clicking in its background. There are also 2 other controls here: smoothing, which smoothens out fine changes in your pedal movement, as well as a rate control, which is values per second. So I'm at a value of 4.5 here, and when I move the pedal, it's going to change its values 4.5 per second. So as I increase here, the rate increases and the values change faster. Alright, the next pedal we'll look at is a sustain pedal. The default setting for a damper pedal is to send out CC64, which is used in most piano and synth applications to sustain the sound. But there are a lot of different things you can do with a damper style pedal. You can toggle between 2 program changes, trigger a note. There are also these increment and decrement controls. The way they work is you short press and the value increases, and a long press and it decreases. Using the same logic, you can send out 2 different CCs. A short press sends out CC1 and a long press sends out CC2. You can even send out keystrokes. So here I'm going to set it to switch applications. I only have one running, so nothing to switch to. Next, we'll connect a foot switch. At first, the foot switch is detected as an expression pedal. By pressing the first button, the pedal is now correctly recognized. You can override the pedal sensing by clicking on the foot switch icon, and that turns off the sense feature. Now the input is locked into foot switch mode, and when you unplug the pedal and plug it back in, it's already set up as a foot switch. By default, a foot switch is set up like 2 separate sustain pedals, and all the functions for the pedal are the same, except that there's an extra group called linked modes. When using these modes, both buttons on the pedal control the same value. So the A button here increments the value and the B button decrements it. If I do a long press, now we're going up by 10s and down by 10s. The last pedal type is a hi-hat controller. By default, a hi-hat controller is set up to function as a hi-hat. That is, it sends out a positional CC, usually CC4, and also generates velocity-sensitive notes. Give a hi-hat a couple quick presses for calibration. Now you'll be able to trigger velocity-sensitive notes very easily with it. If you just want to trigger notes and you don't need the CC functionality or the splash, then you might want to just use note mode, which just triggers notes.